Let's head up to Harrow with Bob Blackman. Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend will be aware that the deeply unpopular street space scheme was found by the High Court last week as being unlawful. The reasons for it being unlawful were the failure to consult residents, the failure to take into account the impact on taxi drivers, the failure to take into account the disabled and other protected characteristics. These schemes across London have cost millions of pounds, but the verdict actually has an effect right across the country, with road closures and cycle lanes being put in places without proper consultation. So sadly, I was unsuccessful in the shuffle at transport questions, Mr. Speaker. So could we have a statement from the Secretary of State for Transport to the House on what the impact of this is on the various different schemes across the country and in particular in London?
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman, my honourable friend, is very wise in how he uses the House's mechanisms, because actually the lines I've got come from the Ministry of Transport, though I would add my own line that the car-hating Mayor of London really wanted to do his best to upset motorists, and he's not very fond of taxi drivers either, who Disraeli called the gondoliers of London and should always be respected and admired for the work they do. It would be wrong of me to comment on the specific judgment because it may be under appeal from TfL and it's not proper to discuss current legal cases. But the government has made clear to local authorities that they must consider the effect on all road users when developing cycle and walking schemes through the Active Travel Fund. Allocations from Tranche 2 of the Active Travel Fund were announced last November. These were subject to LAs demonstrating that they have consulted local communities on proposed schemes. The government's additional network management duty guidance on reallocating road space was updated in November alongside the Tranche 2 announcements and strengthens the advice on consulting disabled people. It recommends authorities carry out equality impact assessments and reminds them of their duties under equalities legislation. But I think the real answer to my honourable friend is vote Conservative in the local elections and let's have a Tory